Right now, somewhere in your house, your phone is within arm's reach. You feel a small itch. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is happening. But that itch is unbearable. So you pick it up. You scroll. You don't even know what you're looking for. But the real answer to why you can't sit still is far stranger than you think. Your ancestors felt that exact same itch. No phones, no screens, no music, no books, no glowing rectangles to fill the silence. Just an open sky, a fire, and hours of nothing. And somehow, that nothing built the human mind you're using right now. Boredom feels like an enemy. Modern life treats it like a problem to solve, a gap to fill, a discomfort to escape in under 10 seconds. But psychologist Sandy Mann, who has spent years studying boredom at the University of Central Lancashire, found something unexpected. When people were given boring tasks before a creative challenge, they didn't perform worse. They performed better. Boredom wasn't wasted time. It was priming the brain for something else entirely. So what were your ancestors actually doing out there with nothing to do? Anthropologist James Sussman spent years living among the Juhansi, a hunter-gatherer community in the Kalahari. What he found upended a very old assumption. Early humans were not locked in a desperate, non-stop struggle for survival. Once the hunting and gathering was done, often in just a few hours a day, there was time left over. A lot of it, hours, not minutes. Every single day, that's the part people miss. We picture cavemen constantly hunted, constantly starving, constantly in danger. But the data tells a different story. Researcher Herman Ponser, who measured the daily energy expenditure of the Hadza people in Tanzania, found their activity levels weren't wildly different from people in modern cities. The days had space in them, wide, open, unstructured space. And in that space, something had to happen. The mind doesn't just switch off. This is where it gets strange. Boredom isn't emptiness. It's pressure. It's your brain, starving for stimulation, forcing you to generate your own. Without a screen to hand that job to, ancient humans had only one option left. Create it themselves, storytelling. Around a fire, night after night, someone had to fill the silence. Anthropologist Polly Wiessner studied the Juhoansi and found that after dark, conversation shifted almost entirely away from complaints and disputes and toward stories, myths, jokes, tales about distant relatives, distant lands, spirits, tricksters. Not because it was scheduled entertainment. Because boredom demanded it. Think about what that actually built. A brain trained, night after night, generation after generation, to invent. To imagine a world that wasn't directly in front of it. That is not a small skill. That is the root of language, culture, myth, and eventually, art. Boredom didn't slow the human mind down. It built the muscle for imagination. And it didn't stop at stories. Bored hands carve things. Bored fingers braid things. Some of the oldest ochre engravings ever found, patterns etched into stone in Blombos Cave in South Africa, dating back roughly 70,000 years, show no obvious survival purpose, no food value, no shelter value, just a mark, made because a mind needed to make one. That's unsettling, isn't it? The oldest art we've ever found might not have come from inspiration. It might have come from boredom. Here's the twist. Boredom wasn't just tolerated by early humans. It may have been necessary. A restless, understimulated brain doesn't stay still. It wanders, it questions. It notices a strange plant and wonders if it's edible. It stares at a river and wonders where it leads. Curiosity, real exploratory curiosity, seems to switch on exactly when nothing else is demanding your attention. Modern researchers have studied this directly. Psychologist Karen Gasper found that boredom nudges people toward novelty seeking. Not laziness, seeking. A bored brain doesn't want nothing. It wants something new, so picture it. An ancient human sitting by a fire, with nothing scheduled, nothing urgent, nothing pulling their attention in 6 directions at once. That stillness wasn't wasted time. It was the exact condition that pushed the species toward new tools, new territory, new ideas. Now think about your own life. You almost never let that stillness happen anymore. The moment boredom starts to creep in, you reach for something. A notification, a video, a feed that refreshes itself before you even finish reading the last post. Every gap gets filled instantly. Every silence gets interrupted before it can do its job. And here's the uncomfortable part. That itch you feel isn't new. It's ancient. It's the same restlessness that once pushed your ancestors to invent stories, carve symbols, and wonder what was over the next hill. Except now, instead of turning inward and generating something, you outsource it. You hand that restlessness to a screen, and the screen hands you something pre-made, fast, and forgettable. The instinct is exactly what it always was. Only the response has changed. And that changes what boredom is allowed to become. Sandyman's research suggests something worth sitting with. When people stop letting boredom resolve into idle scrolling and instead sit with it, even briefly, the mind starts wandering somewhere useful. Ideas surface. Solutions to problems appear that weren't there before. The very discomfort you rush to escape might be doing exactly what it did around that ancient fire, waiting for you to stop interrupting it. So the next time that itch shows up, the one that makes you reach for your phone without even thinking, pause for just a second. That feeling isn't a malfunction. It's not weakness, and it's not something modern life invented to torture you. It's a signal, tens of thousands of years old, still running in the background of your mind, still trying to do the same job it always did. Somewhere, a long time ago, a bored mind stared into a fire and imagined something that didn't exist yet. And right now in your hand is a phone. You feel a small itch. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is happening. But maybe, just this once, that's exactly the point.